Yeah, tell them, please, if you can make it next time. That'd be great.
Only if
Excuse me, I'm going to call the meeting to order. First minute. We're going to pledge allegiance to the flag first.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Trish Watkins.
Terry Williams.
Tim Sayre.
Mike Watkins.
And move for approval, message for approval of the minutes. Lillian Hall is president. She's out of town, has a personal emergency with her family. Mike Rizzo is at a wedding enjoying himself. Approval of minutes.
motion to approve the minutes.
All second.
All in favor?
Unanimous.
All right, we have some committee reports. We'll go with finance first.
Okay, our current balance is $5,870.88.
And then membership and events.
Yeah, we've got 3 new members since our last meeting and 1 renewal. As far as events goes, you may or may not have gotten information on the dance that's scheduled for Friday, March 18th. It's a country western dance to be held at the Hamlin House Community Center, which is immediately east of Hall on 89th. Mike Rizzo happens to be a DJ. He'll be the DJ for that event. It's $10 a head or $20 a couple. And at the Hamlin House, beer and wine is all that's allowed there by statute or whatever. So you're welcome to bring, whatever beer or wine you like. There'll be some light snacks, and should be a good time. So it's running from 8 to 10:30 on the 18th. That's about it.
Environmental.
What happened last Saturday?
Oh, we're talking about that later.
Later? All right.
Separate item.
All right. New news for environmental. I hope I say their name right. Ken and Stella Llewellyn, right?
Yes.
They, a couple of months ago, said they had a problem with their lot next door. All the bushes were going over onto their property, and they were getting poison ivy and all kinds of problems. But by talking to people, they have managed to get the lot cleared, and now they no longer have to worry about growth coming over onto their property. So that's a good thing, that we do have phone number you can call and get help out here in the acreage. And on the horse manure, that litigation is still going on, and it still looks like it will become a bill to where you cannot put more than 20 cubic yards on an acre and a quarter out here, more than 20 cubic yards in 1 year. So that'll help a lot of people out. You won't have piles of manure sitting next door to you on a vacant lot. That's about it.
So tonight, we have Patricia Bain, correct? Thank you. I'm glad I got it. And she's here to talk to us about voluntary and involuntary annexation in Palm Beach County. And with that, I'm going to let you take the floor. And please hold your questions until the end or when she pauses and asks if you have any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Patricia Bain. I'm from the Palm Beach County Planning Division, Planning Zoning and Building Department. I'm a principal planner and I've worked there for about 12 years. So in the intergovernmental coordination section, so I deal a lot with all of the cities, all of the different agencies, and do a lot of the coordination, specifically for annexation. So I know it almost inside and out. It's a difficult process sometimes, and there are a lot of statutory regulations. But I'm going to try tonight to just give you the overview, and specifically for this particular area in the acreage. So tonight we're going to cover just an annexation overview, give you some of the regulations, highlights, and the types of annexations that can occur. I'll also give you the annexation review process, and we'll talk specifically about the acreage area. And I'll point out the couple other things that I have. I have a map and a couple of handouts, so we'll talk about those. And then at the end, any questions? So first of all, just to give you an overview of annexation in Palm Beach County, we have 38 municipalities in the county. That's the most number of cities of any county in the state. And conflicts, of course, can arise between the cities and the county boundaries with service delivery, share of fire rescue or water utilities, land use conflicts, other types of intergovernmental coordination issues, and also there's conflicts between the resident and business interests. Some annexation facts and figures. Since 1989, since we've been reporting annexations for the county, there were about 1,000 annexations totaling about 64,000 acres. Just to give you a context of the entire county is about 1.2 million acres. So it hasn't been that many in 27 years. And you'll notice the types of different annexations that have occurred. Most of them, the majority, have been voluntary annexations. And I'll explain what that is in a second. With the history of the annexations, Palm Beach County adopted an annexation review policy. We wanted to make sure that we had established what what cities were annexing, how they were annexing, and making sure that they weren't just annexing willy-nilly, trying to come up with a process that they could all be done according to the statutes. And then in 1991, the municipal annexation plan was created, and there were future annexation areas that were established. This is a map on the poster board here. This is actually from 2013, but nothing has changed. This shows all of the different cities in different colors. Unincorporated is the light peach. And this future annexation areas, if you see the stripes, are according to the colors of the cities. So you'll see most of the future annexation areas are within what we call the urban service area. Most of the cities don't go outside of the urban service area into the rural area, of course this being the acreage area. These future annexation areas are included in each of the comprehensive plans of the cities. They're not regulated by the county. They're all regulated by each individual city. And then in 2004, the county participated in statutory changes and a charter amendment for to establish the exclusive method of voluntary annexation. And I'll explain what that is. So just going over the regulations, Florida Statutes Chapter 171 explains everything there is to know about how an annexation can occur. It's very detailed, it's very onerous. I just summarized it into 4 bullets. The reason why there are statutes and regulations for annexation is that they wanted to make sure to ensure sound urban development and accommodation for growth. Establish uniform standards throughout the state so that all annexations occur the same throughout the state. And also to ensure the efficient provision of urban services to areas that become urban in character, making sure that there's police and fire rescue and things of that nature. for those areas, and also ensure that areas are not annexed unless municipal services can be provided to those areas. So, talking about the exclusive method of voluntary annexation, it's a really big need for something that occurred 12 years ago. The Board of County Commissioners approved an ordinance to allow residents of Palm Beach County to vote on a proposed charter amendment to authorize this exclusive method of voluntary annexation, specifically for the area outside of the urban service area. So, taking a look at this map, I'll explain all the colors. The grays, those are all the cities. The orange is the urban service area. That's where all of the future annexation areas occur. And then in the white stripes, the black stripes, is what we call the unincorporated protection area. And then in yellow, we have the unincorporated rural neighborhoods, which the acreage is one of them. These are two levels of annexation, I guess, criteria that were put into place back in 2004. Let me explain what happened back in 2004. So the Board of County Commissioners wanted to make sure that the neighborhoods had the ability to vote on whether or not they wanted to be annexed. But what they needed to do was they needed to change the county's charter. So the county's charter needed to, in order to do that, you need the vote of the entire county. But some of the cities got involved and said, no, we don't want that to be put on the ballot. Anybody here during 2004 time? Okay, so Wellington tries to block annexation. These are different stories from the Post. Wellington, Delray, West Palm urge annexation question to be tossed. A judge rules against the question, and the question remains on the ballot. So once it went through about a 6-month ordeal of cities trying to put a kibosh on that ballot question, but the county wanted to make sure that the citizens of this area had their vote. So if you were back here in 2004, you may have gotten one of these flyers. That flyer requested a vote of yes on the referendum, and it specifically was for the exclusive method of voluntary annexation, so that you have the ability to vote whether or not you want it to be annexed. So once that amendment was placed on the ballot in 2004, the general election took place, and it was approved by all of the electors. So what that means is that it provides for 2 levels of protection of annexation from any of the cities surrounding. And the cities surrounding this particular area include Palm Beach Gardens, West Palm Beach on the east, Royal Palm Beach, Waxahachie Groves on the south, as well as Wellington. Anything that is striped on this map, if the city wants to annex any of this property, it has to go to the Board of County Commissioners for a supermajority vote. So it would have to be 5 commissioners would vote, at least 5 commissioners out of the 7. If, on top of that, if you live within one of these yellow areas, the unincorporated rural neighborhoods, it's also the supermajority vote of the Board of County Commissioners that would need to approve it, as well as the majority of the owners, registered electors residing within the unincorporated area. So it's basically 2 levels of annexation criteria that you need. And of course, we're focusing in that area there. So this is basically that information that I just gave you. There's a handout if you didn't grab it on the way in. Everything that I just discussed is on this page. The voluntary annexation requirements and the listing of the neighborhoods that are included in that. That is not something that was changed in the Florida statutes. That's actually something that's changed within the county's charter. So all cities, everybody has to abide by that. Other types of annexations that are allowed, I've been talking specifically about voluntary annexations, but there's also statutory, the Florida statute allows for involuntary annexations as well. Now that always gets people attention when it says involuntary, because a lot of people don't want to be involuntarily annexed. So involuntary annexations occur for, I'll give a couple of things, but if it's an enclave of less than 10 acres, it's completely surrounded by one city, then the city and the county could agree by an interlocal agreement to annex that particular property. There isn't anywhere in this area that is currently an enclave, and the statutes do not allow for enclaves to be created. So although that's allowed, it's not something that can occur in this area. Most of the areas that you'll see, just to give you an example of an enclave, there's an enclave around Green Acres. Green Acres completely surrounds an unincorporated area. It happens to be a local park. It's bigger than 10 acres, so there's no way for us to do an involuntary annexation on that part. But if the statutes were to change to allow for annexation of enclaves bigger than 10 acres, they would be able to annex that. The Board of County Commissioners does have a say in that, because it would be an interlocal agreement between the city and the county. But again, that type of annexation wouldn't occur most likely outside of the urban service area, because there are no enclaves. There's nothing that's completely surrounded by one city in this area. The other types of involuntary annexations can occur with areas that do not have, that have no registered electors. So a lot of commercial properties, they don't have a person living there, so there's no voter. We'll see this along like US 1 into Cuesta. There are a number of parcels. We had an annexation where the majority of the property owners wanted to annex. Nobody was living there, so they were able to annex the entire area. Again, this is something that's not, we don't have a lot of commercial areas in this area, nothing that's adjacent to or contiguous to the main city, so it's probably not something that would occur. The other types of annexations include the special legislative act. Only one has occurred in, I think, 30 years, and that was out in South Bay to include one of the islands, which is South Bay. That's something that just passed through the legislation. It doesn't have anything to do with the board commissioners. And then the final one is the interlocal service boundary agreement, and that is mainly to take care of those areas like the larger enclaves, areas that are difficult to serve from the county's perspective, and it allows for an agreement between the county and the city to kind of take care of some of those areas that are completely surrounded by another city or have some special considerations that are needed. And we've done a couple of ISBAs, local service boundary agreements with Palm Springs, and the other one is Lake Worth. And the main concern, the main issue that we want to address is just to make sure that we're addressing the service delivery issues in that area. Again, having discussed it with our assistant county attorney and our planning director, we don't really see an ISBA within this area, because what we found is that it's mostly used as a tool to help those areas that do have a lot of service delivery issues. And like I said, that's mostly within the open service area. Just to give you a couple of examples of, there have been in the last 12 years since the charter has changed, or that exclusive method of voluntary annexation. There have only been 2 annexations that have occurred outside, or actually in this area, and that's in South Bay, on the west side and the south side. Both of those were for commercial properties. They were voluntary annexations. They went to the Board of County Commissioners. They were not part of an unincorporated rural neighborhood, any of those yellow neighborhoods, so they didn't have to do a local neighborhood. So there's an example of one on the south side of South Bay, and an example of another on the west side. This was just to show you the sheet that's available for you with all the information that I just went over. Okay, so my role with the county is to review every single annexation that occurs in the county. And we're really just the coordinators. We want to make sure that the cities are doing the right thing based on the statutes, and we want to make sure that the cities coordinate with the property owners, and we want to make sure that all of the departments are fully aware of what's going to happen with the particular annexation. So we make sure we have a couple of staff people that track all of the public ads. And even though it is a requirement, notification requirement for the cities to notify the county, we still want to make sure that we keep track of any annexations that may occur. And so we check to make sure that it meets the statutory requirement. For voluntary annexations, we review for contiguity, so the parcel has to actually touch the boundary of a city. For compactness, and compactness has a definition in the statutes, but it's basically, the statutes want to make sure that, I don't have an example here, but that annexations don't occur in a linear fashion or in a finger or serpentine fashion. We want it as a compact unit so that when it's annexed, it'll square off the boundaries of the city. Also checking for regular shapes, and we also check to make sure that there are signatures, voluntary petitions are signed by the property owners themselves. For involuntary annexation, we review for contiguity, compactness, and regular shape, and also that it's developed for urban purposes. So it's not like it's going to take a large vacant lot. We want to make sure that it is developed for urban purposes. And the city must provide us with an urban service. And we check to make sure how it impacts the county. So engineering, fire rescue, sheriff's office, our fiscal, our water utilities, environmental resources, property real estate management, parks. Every single department is notified that a proposed annexation is occurring. Because there may be something, a project going on nearby, or engineering may want the road to be annexed as well, or a property real estate management wants to make sure that there isn't any county property that is involved in this. So we double check and make sure that every department is fully aware. So we have a really proactive coordination between the cities and the county so that we make sure that they're doing the right thing. And that increased cooperation with the municipalities has allowed for better coordination. We've done some elimination of the unincorporated pockets on race and have had more orderly annexations. And it does make for a more effective and efficient service delivery. And of course, we want to make sure that we're planning for the future. So we're planning for the facilities and just making sure that we're all coordinating properly so that all the citizens are well served. So for the acreage, it is an unincorporated rural neighborhood. As I stated, this is a zoom in of this particular map. Again, the cities are in gray and the unincorporated rural neighborhoods are in yellow. And I tried to make this purple, but it's not coming out that way. But that purple view, that is the boundaries of the acreage. And so you can see how it does touch the borders along the east side with West Palm, south side with Loxahatchee Grove, well, Loxahatchee and Rural Palm Beach, and also to the west of Loxahatchee Groves. So if one parcel were to come in and want to annex into any one of those cities, they would have to get the vote of the Board of County Commissioners with the supermajority vote, as well as the vote of the entire acreage. And with that, I conclude, and hopefully was able to provide you with a little more information, and I'll be happy to take any questions.
I have a question if nobody else has. Can you back up 2 slides? And you see the, actually it's easier if I just walk. I see that Wellington's down here. This is the boundary of the acreage, right?
Yes.
This is not part of Wellington, so since Wellington doesn't touch us, they can never annex us, is that correct?
Right now, there wouldn't be, correct, it's not contiguous, so it wouldn't be able to annex that at this point. If they were to annex these neighborhoods and then become contiguous,
Then, what's the ruling on crossing like a main road like Southern? Is there any kind of ruling on that, on annexation?
there isn't. It would still be contiguous. Roads and canals are not, a barrier to that contiguity. No, there are a couple neighborhoods down at the,
There's Lion Country Safari.
it's Entrada Acres, south of that, south of the acreage, and the other one is Fox Trail. So those would be the two.
So the 3 places that we touch, Royal Palm Beach, Loxahatchee Groves, and Palm Beach Gardens.
Actually, yes, you're right. Palm Beach Gardens at the north end?
Yeah.
And West Palm Beach, right below.
But not Wellington at the moment.
So there's 4.
Now, again, I do want to reiterate, the cities cannot just go into an area and annex an area.
No, I understand.
Okay.
I'm just asking if there was a voluntary. that-
Yes, if there was a voluntary.
Okay. You have questions in the audience?
Yes, just relating to that, and you might not be able to answer this, but if that's the case, why does the subdivisions that are further west, like, what is it, Lion Country Safari, they're
Fox
kids-
Trail and what's the other one?
Right, and their kids go to Wellington schools, don't they?
The service areas may
So-
differ.
Okay, so it's different for the
So the school district
Okay.
is a totally different, some of the sheriff's districts may also, well, not for Wellington, but yeah, the school district, because there aren't any schools, I don't recall what the
And
schools.
so- My second question is, you said that if a parcel of land, being a parcel within the acreage, was to be annexed by one of the municipalities,
Yeah.
that all of the acreage would need to approve? So say
Yes.
you just had, one section of the acreage that wanted to,
Right, if you just had, it's basically if any of the parcels that are contiguous to any of these cities wanted to voluntarily annex into the city, the entire neighborhood has to vote on whether or not they want that to occur. So if the majority of the property owners, registered electors of the people residing within the acreage vote to approve, then that person or more than one person
The
could
entire
annex.
acreage, not just that parcel that wants to.
Right, right.
Everybody would
Yes, very, very different from anywhere else in the county. But that was what the vote was in 2004, that they wanted to make sure that the people had the vote.
so is it registered owners or registered voters?
Registered electors residing within the acreage.
Even if they're renters? is
Even
what-
if they're renters?
They're
Correct.
registered to live.
Yes.
What would trigger involuntary annexation of any area?
Involuntary would only be if there were a majority of property owners that had property without registered electors on them. And that's very
So it's
rare.
virtually,
It's-
I don't want to say impossible.
I've seen two in the last 12 years. It's very, very difficult to do that because
Nobody wants
hardly anybody, yeah. It's difficult to get, and a lot of times, those property owners have businesses, and sometimes the tax incentives are better in the cities, and that's why they want to annex, so that development is maybe easier or shorter development time, and that's why they want to annex for businesses. So non-residential areas are usually the ones that do, not usually, are the ones that do involuntary annexations. And again, like I said, the enclave in a local, also consider that involuntary, that can occur here, cannot occur here. Yes.
On your map there, it looks like Royal Palm Beach or Wellington would not be able to annex the southwest corner of the acreage. The only one that could annex it is Waxahachie because they abut to each other.
Right.
Waxahachie can end up annexing all of the acreage because it does touch both sections, but does that leave an enclave in Minto property, so to speak?
Not necessarily. It would need to be completely, if they were to annex west of it, if they annex everything
Whoever has
surrounding,
that
it has
property
to
over
be.
there, which GL Homes was considering, well, there's gonna end up being Indian trails, drainage and stuff, but it ended up on the hand of Minto.
Yeah.
Okay, so Waxahachie easily with those people, but everybody in the acreage would have to vote whether that southwest corner of the acreage wanted to join Waxahachie or
Correct.
something like that.
Exactly. And the
And
Board of
vice
County
versa.
Commissioners would need to vote as well.
And my other part of the question is, in order to annex, would the cities require us to put in utilities comparable to their own, so to speak? In other words, would we have to have water, would we have to have sewer, would we have to have roads and
So,
sidewalks?
since Waxahachie Groves became incorporated in 2008, there hasn't been an annexation, so I haven't really taken a look to see what the
They're the only
regulations
ones that
are.
are comparable with us,
To-
kind of similar, I should say.
Right.
Their road work, drainage.
Because they basically took the county's comp plan and made changes to it, but they're pretty much the same as what the counties was. Yeah, there are different cities, some cities like Delray Beach and Green Acres, they won't annex a property if there's still areas that don't have paved roads in these areas. So they won't annex until all of that is worked out with the county. And also Delray Beach, we're working on an area right now that they don't have water or sewer. They're also not getting that from Palm Beach County Water Utilities. So Delray has in their regulations that you have to hook up to water and sewer. So, but it's a $2 million project.
Is that paid by the people that want to be annexed, or is that paid by the city that would be willing to accept those people?
And that's what we're trying to work out right now. There is an annexation incentive program for those particular areas that do not get Palm Beach County Water Utilities. So that we're hoping that it can work out that a third could be paid by the city, a third by the county, a third by the property owner. So it's not all one local government, but it's east of Military Trail, so we're hoping that is something that's worked out. But that's not the case in this area.
That's future.
Future, exactly. So I'm not sure about Los Angeles Groves, what their requirements are, but some cities do require all of that to be in place before annexation or as part of the annexation process.
I have one more. You listed about 16 requirements that you have to look at, and we don't need to review all those, but if it's a voluntary annexation, and the people in the area vote that they have shown interest that they want to be annexed, has there ever been a case where the Board of County Commissioners has not super voted and said, yeah, everybody wants to do that, so we're not going to
Since the charter has changed, we haven't had at any point where we would need the unincorporated rural neighborhoods to vote, so we haven't had that instance. We have had one instance where we did an interlocal service boundary agreement where, well, that was something, it was in an area where 500 residents wanted it, 100 of them showed up to the board saying, no, we don't want it, and then the board voted against it because people showed up not wanting to be incorporated.
So I need to ask a question of order. So people that, let's say it's voluntary, they want to get annexed by whatever it is, the Board of County Commissioners votes first before the electorals vote? Is that correct? And then the electorals vote?
Correct, yes.
Just want to make sure of that.
How many votes do you have to have for the incorporation before it was passed?
It's just a simple majority, yes.
And would your office be able to help a nonprofit group that started to push annexation with their petition forms?
That's interesting. We, as the county, since it's not in the county's interest, it's usually the city that's the one doing all of that work. Because they're the ones that are going to benefit. So, and that's a question that we have to ask, unless we do a referendum, that they would have to also have lots of extras and say, be the ones to pay for that voting system. So, it would be a city-driven, I guess.
Yeah, it would be nice if we could get petitions that are accepted by the county commission, by the city, by the state, that way you don't get 5,000 signatures and all of a sudden you go, no, you have the word and in here, so we can't
Oh,
go
yeah,
accept
no,
this
they
form.
make sure. No, it would be an actual, it would be as though it was a referendum that was done before the enriched neighborhood. And, done in the supervisor.
Just one more thing, I just want to clarify for myself. Did I understand you correctly? I thought you said that the residents shouldn't have to worry about being annexed when they don't want to be.
Right,
That
involuntary,
it can't be done because they have to be able, they have to vote for it.
exactly. Involuntary annexations, like I said, are very, very difficult. It has to be a non-residential electorate. Cities can't go in there, especially in this area. They can't go in unless they get the vote of the neighborhood. Now, if there are a couple of areas that are outside of the neighborhood, they still have to go to the board of county commissioners, but they don't have the neighborhood that they pull from. And also, it has to be contiguous, so it's not like the neighborhood out here can just go into West Palm Beach. It doesn't, it still meet the statutory requirements first.
So theoretically, I mean, we do have the option of just doing nothing and having things the same.
Yes,
It's not necessarily incorporate or be annexed.
correct.
We can,
Yeah. And if ever there was a city that was interested in annexing, everybody would be doing it. You would have to. It's not like overnight you would do it, but.
I think there's a question, Randy, the last row back.
Oh, yes, I came in kind of late, but I was just wondering why we would want to do this.
Oh, and I was.
I'm just curious as to what we would gain by doing this.
And part of this presentation is just to inform about what voluntary annexation is and what involuntary annexation is. And a lot of times when the word annexation pops up anywhere, it is kind of, I get a lot of calls from a lot of residents being concerned about this. Now, voluntary annexations usually occur, and I should say predominantly in this area of the county, because they want to develop within the city. They like the regulations of the city. Cities have more urban future land uses. They can build at higher densities. They can have, you know, more units, or they just have more development opportunities than unincorporated counties. That's not a bad thing. But of course, sometimes in some cities, the taxes may go up. But it may be a wash, because the taxes that they're paying for sheriff and fire rescue, if they go into the city, they may not need to pay as much, or every city's completely different, so it just depends on the city. So that's one of the reasons why people want to voluntarily annex into a city. Cities also provide other amenities that the county cannot. Sometimes in smaller cities, they have a really robust code enforcement. In other cities, they have their local police that people like, instead of having a sheriff. You know, it all depends. But as you can see, there's a lot of orange enclaves, orange pockets all over. So there are neighborhoods that don't want to annex at all. And they cannot be forced to be annexed. And a lot of the areas west, you know, we have the Ag Reserve west of the Turnpike, you know, those areas, there's been discussion there as well, and it takes a lot for a neighborhood of a lot of residents to annex, so to get the majority, yes.
If I'm thinking one of the positive notes is we might have a little more control over our own destiny, really. It's, instead of Palm Beach County Board, which I don't think they really care about us out here, I think we have a little more say of what we can put on a particular parcel of land within our community. No Walmart, we don't want a Walmart, things like that. I think we'd have a little more say of what goes on within the city compared to Palm Beach County Board, where we only have one guy represent, or a lady represented us, and someone from Boca Riviera don't really care too much about us out here.
Yeah.
That would be the only positive, you know, incorporation is you might be able to stop certain areas from, you know, going to condominiums or the board don't care, they just want more revenue, you know, they just want more taxes, you know, they don't care what you have to deal with out here with traffic.
Right, we want to clarify when we say annexation versus incorporation.
Yeah,
That's
there's a
a big
distinction.
issue, it's a huge distinction.
You,
And 13 years ago, we looked for a very elaborate thing for the ITID in Palm Beach County to incorporate it. It didn't pass, but it was a different time,
Yeah.
a different flavor, a different climate to the community back then as well. So I just wanted to kind of make sure we're not confusing the two, because annexation is we become part of an existing incorporation, we become incorporated. Incorporating, we incorporate ourselves, we have our own representation, your own community board, people who live here in the community making decisions, not county commissioners
Exactly.
who have 80% of our income going, taxes going to
Yeah.
the seaboard communities.
Thank you for making that distinction.
Of what you said, and what you said earlier, is it possible that if the acreage were to incorporate, and that we were, and these are a lot of ifs, right? But if we were able to get it done in fairly short order, prior to Minto getting too far in their development, and let's say that what they do get done is the commercial portion, is it possible that we could annex Minto?
It looks like.
Why not, because of the timing?
Because she said,
Right, well, first of all, voluntary. And winter would be an enclave, right?
But there's an
okay, but we
incorporated,
surround them, and you said involuntary, and all of the, it meets all the other,
but she said 10 acres or less. It
Oh,
should be
right.
10 acres
10 acres or less, and
We
also
won't
it says that-
surround the commercial area, the commercial area needs to cement this, 5,000 acres that they want. So we couldn't do it.
and the reverse would be true as well. If they build, they can't turn around and try and annex us.
No, it's still, you're still in an unincorporated rural neighborhood, you still have a
We
vote.
would have to vote.
we would have to okay it.
And
Yes.
just so you know, she's here about annexation. I know we talked about incorporation last month. I'm not sure how many answers she has about incorporation. So if you ask her something and she doesn't know, you have to understand she's here about annexation, and that's what the meeting is.
Yeah, the Los Angeles Rose Incorporated in the county, we didn't have anything, any part of it, really. We did help in a lot of the documentation, transfer, and all of that. We did. Yes.
I want to make the distinction also that in legal terms, Minto right now is an elite, they're an incorporated electorate, so they do not have a vote. So they would be just like treated like those municipality organizations that you're talking about in Cuesta, where they're automatically incorporated. That would be a decision of the community as well, because they don't have a vote.
Right, they don't have a vote in the neighborhood. Right. No.
No, they have a residence, they have to have a resident owner that lives within that block of that community. As a distinctive community separate from the acreage.
We don't have it identified as part of the acreage neighborhood plan, so they don't, if somebody wanted to annex in the acreage into one of these cities,
Yes.
they still wouldn't have a vote. It's still not, it's totally separate. And I don't actually, we haven't talked about, in the planning terms, whether we're going to expand this to add additional rural neighborhoods. Not sure, we haven't even talked about that, because there are a couple other properties that have gotten their development approvals, and we haven't opened this up. This list is actually in the comprehensive plan and the ordinance, the charter that was amended. The adopting ordinance has all of the legal descriptions of each one of these, and that was basically done just through research and to the subdivisions and all of that stuff. Any other questions?
Any other questions about annexation? Well, then, I'd like to thank Patricia Bain for coming out, and we appreciate your time, and I don't know about, I did learn some stuff about involuntary. Thank you very much.
Very enlightening.
We're going to move on. Are you going to leave the shirt by the door, or?
Yes, it's trimmed by the door already, so yeah.
And will you email me the PowerPoint if I?
Sure.
Okay.
Definitely.
All right, well, we're going to move on to talk about our Loxapalooza Music Fest that we had Saturday. Just let you and chili cook-off. Hopefully some of you made it. We wish that all of you had made it. It was one of the biggest events that we've had so far. It went over very well. We had a lot of people there. If you weren't there, I'm sorry you weren't there. We hope you can come to the next one. We're planning one in October again at this time. And just wanted to let you know that we do have those out there. If you haven't joined the mailing list, go to the acreslandowners.com website. Join up on our email list. I don't abuse it. I let you know about the meetings, what's coming up, and about the music fest, and any special stuff like the country dance that we're having. Other than that, you shouldn't be getting any emails from us about stuff. We are sponsoring the Relay for Life, so you will get an email about that also, because we want to sponsor.
Hold up a second, there's a lot of conversation going on.
Yeah, Leo, can you wait till after the meeting to talk?
It's not just Leo, it's all in the room. Okay.
But yeah, so it's acreslandowners.com. Go on there, you'll see a form on the contact page, or on the main page, there's a place you can click and it'll take you over. You can send, put your email address, your name in there. We'll notify you about what's going on. We'll notify you about all the meetings that we're having, what they're going to be about. Notify you about any special events we're having, like the country dance, the music fest, the Rocktober Fest, whatever's going on that way, and other stuff that we sponsor. So you'll hear about the Relay for Life from us that's going on in April, because we're one of the sponsors of the Relay for Life. Other than that, we try not to contact you. You're welcome to contact us anytime you want. We'll try to get back to you as quickly as we can. If you have a problem, if you have a concern, if you have an issue, if you need help with something, or you don't know a phone number, we have a resources page on there. We have a lot of stuff listed on the resources page too, and how you can get a hold of us. Is there any questions or comments or anything this evening? Go ahead.
The event went so well, most of the food trucks sold out of food. Most of the vendors there, except for maybe 1.5, did great business-wise. There were some nonprofit organizations there, and they made money for their nonprofit organizations such as Fighting Cancer. If y'all like the Music Fest, please let us know by just joining up for $20 and being a member of the Acres Landowners. We do things like trying to help other landowners, but there's only so much we can do. We're all working people, just like most people out here are, except for a few people who are retired. And we'd like to have more of them on the board to have more time to help us and help the neighbors. But we could use the help. Create Music Fest, planning on it, even after we have meetings afterwards, find out what we did wrong, what we think we could do better. And we can always use help on the board and for events that we put on out here in the community. And it's always nice when it's not just raising money for the ALA and the landowners, but it's also raising money for fighting cancer and fighting people who have different illnesses and diseases. So it really helps the community a lot. And you get to talk to some interesting people and meet your neighbors. But we're trying to get the membership up, so if you have neighbors that are not members, please ask them to join.
I think you would have had more people here if one of you guys was emceeing the whole time through that event, instead of giving control of the microphone to the people up on the stage. Because all those people that were there, if you told them what's going on, they might have been here tonight. But I was there the whole, from 2 o'clock on, and not once was anything mentioned about a meeting.
Yes,
And I
sir.
think that was really a mistake.
Yes, sir.
We need to.
We've already addressed that, thank
But I
you.
think you need to be in charge of that stage and putting out information.
Yes, sir. You're completely correct. You had no argument with the
And
board.
what about, you're saying the next one is like 6 months from now?
Yes, sir, in
You used to
October.
be doing them every 3 months.
No, sir. The July 4th is.
We're exhausted, I really can't even do it twice a year.
Yeah, we have.
Takes me that long to get my cars ready.
We get a lot, we don't get a lot of help with that. There's
Yeah.
only 6 board members up here. And we plan the entire thing, and we all have full-time jobs. There's a lot of back end to that. All the cars, all food trucks, all the bands, the stage, ITID, getting coordinated with them, all the food trucks,
The
the
vendors,
vendors. It's a lot of coordination.
electrical issues, stage issues.
Yeah, and we also, there's something that goes on July 4th that we're going to help with, but it won't be put on by us. So that's our third event that we assist with, but it's not put on by the ALA. Okay, and like we're sponsoring the Relay for Life. I'm working with them on getting a car show for that. Working with Donnie, I don't know if you know Donnie from the South Florida Car Club, or I probably said the name wrong, and a couple other people. We're also working, my wife's actually doing the photography for them there for the Relay for Life teams and donating that. And we work with Flags for the Cure, and last year we worked with them on the Chili Fest. So we also donate our time in other places for the community, so it's not just the Music Fest. The Music Fest are a lot of work, but we also put a lot of time in behind the scenes with other stuff. Perry's in charge of the environmental, cleans roads all the time, does all kinds of things, coordinates lot cleanups, deals with a lot of things that are going on with people in the community, a lot of us do. So it's not that we don't want to do things all the time. They're fun for everybody that comes. They're a lot of work for the board.
We need more people involved.
And we actually, our president had a family emergency, and we called in every favor we could to get people to come out and help us. And that's how we got that Music Fest, and that's how we got through the night with no major glitches in it, because we called in every
And
favor
we've got
we
2
could.
people in the front row right here that
Yep.
came through for us and worked the beer tent. Thank you very much.
Right.
So that'll be heard by 7:30?
Yeah,
So,
But we actually think about the residents by not having one in June, July, and August. It's hard to enjoy
It's awfully
yourself
hot.
putting on suntan lotion at 95 degrees.
and it's a very long day. Believe me, we appreciate the fact that everyone enjoys it so much. It's wonderful. If we had more people, we could do it more often. It's just gotten too big to be done by 6 or 8 people.
So I guess the question becomes, and we were having a conversation at the event, is how, so there were probably 50 of us here last meeting. It was a great, neat turnout compared to the few before
we had
that.
30 tonight, and we had
And
about
so-
50 last time, you're correct.
You know, so we're a small group, but if even 10% of this group could volunteer for some of these things, but for specific things, and Tim, you know, I've raised my hand several times to try and help with stuff. If you start getting a few people who can get a few people, it becomes exponential.
Correct.
I was an event manager for 10 years, nobody's ever asked me for help. You know, so I was there with suggestions and stuff and saying, you know, I tried to volunteer in another area, but I'm certainly happy to volunteer in that area, but again, we don't know. So unless we're here.
We posted on 3 Facebook pages.
Mhm.
We put it in our email newsletters occasionally. We put the word out on the street with the schools. There's another Facebook page that's all about volunteering for all the people that need community service hours, all the kids and everything. We put it there also. So there is like 5 to 6 ways that we reach out and try to get that information out that we need help. And if we could just get enough people, it's like, they ran from 2 to 11, so it's 9 hours.
Yeah, that's
If we just,
Yeah.
so if you only do 2-hour shifts, you need 4.5 people, 4 people to cover those shifts, just at one spot. And we have 2 at each rear tent. We have people helping with all the different things going on, the car show, the checking of the car show, all kinds of different stuff going on. It takes a lot.
If I can make a suggestion, I know how much work it is. I used to run a trade show with 100,000 people
Right.
and did all the smaller stuff too. I totally respect you guys a lot. That's great. We had such a good time.
I'm glad to hear it.
But what I think is if you could maybe publish a list specifically of what you guys need,
And I
we
think
have a better chance of maybe between
Fill in
us
the
and our
blanks.
neighbors and whatever saying, oh yeah, I could do that. And if it's only for 2 or 3 hours, we were there for 9 hours. We could have, I would have gone over and helped some beer. I don't care. I was over there talking.
Is there anything you can suggest as incentive that,
Well, I think the community service with the kids is awesome.
oh, definitely, definitely.
You know, that's a
They need that.
biggie. And getting that word out, and we didn't have the SAC meeting last month, so I didn't get to ask, to make sure that they were getting that, you know, word out. I think that's huge for the kids, especially as they're getting closer to senior year, because they know they're getting to where they have to have those hours. I think that's phenomenal. I think too, though, that the dates, you know, we gotta be careful that whatever dates we put on this calendar far enough out, that we're checking that we're not competing with such big events like the Rib Roundup, or, you know, unfortunately, the baseball kickoff, and so people came but left, or, you know, maybe went there and came back. And
Certain
just
times of
things
year,
like
it's
that.
difficult because there's always something going on.
Always, always.
Mid-October, you've got a ton of
Sure.
And
Halloween things and,
And just so you know, we were gonna originally do it in February. The problem was that we bumped up against 2 weekends with Wellington. Wellington talked to us and asked us if we could move ours because they couldn't really move theirs. Then we bumped up against the thing that they had at Commons Park, just before, at Royal Palm Beach, the weekend before that.
So is the issue the
right
trucks,
behind.
the food trucks, because they want to be at each of them?
And
Is that
the
the
food
big
trucks.
thing?
yeah.
Yeah, and so we coordinate with the food trucks because they told me if you do it during Wellington, we won't be there. We
Right.
can't be there. I said, okay. So then we talked to them and then, okay, well, they're doing a Rib Roundup that day, but we can't, you know, eventually you just have to pick a day. And then you have to live with what you get.
I think it was a great turnout. I
It
don't
was
think there's
a- it was
anything,
a-
I just felt bad when I heard, okay, we ran out of beer, and so Tim had to leave to go get beer. It's like,
You know
that was
what?
another
It
thing.
was
I
a
heard
good-
people
we're
hear
not-
it.
we're not
We can
complaining.
help, you know, we're here.
We
Like,
were happy to sell out.
so, no, that's a good thing. But I just, you know,
Well, last event, we had an overage of beer, so you just never know. how-
Yeah,
And then I had to drink it.
but I do think the volunteers, if you let us know what you need, when you need, for how long, probably have a better chance of us saying, sure, I'll be happy.
You know what,
to do
we
that.
were right, Perry's written down all these ideas, and I think they're excellent ideas as far as telling people exactly what we need. Betty, is he or Arma?
You used to have a subcommittee for